Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining the ZeeMee webinar today. Today we wanted to talk about connecting students. Connected students don't melt. So essentially, how do you connect students effectively to impact melt? And yeah, we are super excited to take this time to be with you and for you to take the time. We know it's been a whirlwind for all of you. And as we're dealing with what essentially is a new normal, a new reality, and how do we mitigate melt during those times. So today, the ZeeMee panel is Vanessa, our CEO, myself, Megan Nash, Mike Crowley, and Soup Campbell. So we're all excited to have an opportunity to speak with you today. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing webinars as it relates to virtual admit events, to COVID-19, to mitigating melt, and we just polled a number of colleges, over 300 colleges to this point, up to this point in relation to this particular question. What are you most concerned that students will miss out on now that they can't attend an admitted student event? The polling feature on Zoom is having some issues, so we ended up probably been overwhelmed by so many people using Zoom. But so we just think about the answer for you, and then we'll show you how everybody else voted over the last several weeks. So there it is. That's what the percentages were. Students meeting other admitted students, 11% thought that that was the biggest concern. Seeing the campus in person, 67%, 13% for getting questions answered, and 9% for attending sessions. And it was interesting, we also polled students to get their take on this. There's no right or wrong to this, but we also wanted to hear from the students directly in the app. So we polled a few of our users, about 18,000 users in our high school live chat, just to get a sense of where they were at on that spectrum and what was most important to them, what were they most concerned about. So we asked those students, we know a lot of admitted visited events are being canceled. What are you most bummed about to miss out on? And the majority of those students actually answered meeting other admitted students. And so this is an important piece of understanding the student mindset and psyche of when they get to campus, and the excitement and the energy that they derive from that and meeting other admitted students is something that is really critical to grasp or to capture as much as possible now, because they're not hitting campus. And so how do you recreate that experience is something that we wanted to talk about with you today, because that has a profound impact on melt. So some of you may be wondering, what is ZeeMee? What are we all about? We're actually a mobile app that is focused on helping students connect in vibrant, safe, and inclusive college communities that end up resulting in real life relationships. We partner with all sorts of colleges and universities, from very large public universities down to very small private schools. We work with open access institutions to very highly selective colleges. And we found at the end of the day that regardless of the type of institution you're at, ZeeMee works really well because students all want to connect. Students all want to engage, get to know each other, and form those relationships. So just at a high level, how does ZeeMee work? And then Vanessa will jump into more of the specifics around it. So what we do is we create a community for you in the app. We launch that community. We invite in all of your prospective students, inquiries, applicants, admits. Of course, a lot of colleges right now are focused on the admitted student pool. And so we invite them in, and they follow a link that we set up for your college to come directly in and follow you. And from there, it's just this continuous cycle of engagement. You'll see at the point that we launch the community, just chat blows up overnight. It's just this release of pent-up momentum that the students have had and desire to connect and engage. And then you continue to engage them in that conversation. So your current students are adding videos into the app, so just fresh, authentic content that comes into the app. All of our college partners now have current students that are adding this content from home, talking about what it's like to be in quarantine, to be in isolation, but also talking about the school. And so just keeping that fun, engaging conversation going, it continuously brings your prospective students or your admits back into the community. And so the average student on ZeeMee comes back 33 times a month, so more than once a day. So imagine having an admitted event that happens every single day on your campus. That's what ZeeMee essentially is. It happens every single day, and you're constantly bringing students back and keeping that engagement going, that momentum keeps going. And this results in really strong personal relationships. So you can imagine if students are connecting, even at the top of the funnel from inquiries all the way through enrolled, you're talking about 9, 10, 11, 12 months of engagement of students getting to know each other, forming relationships. And that makes it really hard at the end of the day to say, I don't want to go to that particular college because I've actually already, I already have a friend group there, right? I already have this group that I've become extremely close with. And if you think about that, that's why there's such a huge impact on Melt as a result of using ZeeMee in the process. So here's just a client testimonial as it relates to Melt. And this was Lisa from Cornerstone, executive director of mission there. And she's talking about how she absolutely identifies ZeeMee as the major catalyst for why they were able to mitigate Melt so well. And you can see in that screenshot just some students at Cornerstone engaging and talking. And this is what happens. They form these relationships that are so powerful. At Cornerstone, for example, the students that are in their ZeeMee community melted at 1/3 the rate of students that did not join their ZeeMee community. So it had a very significant impact on overall yield and Melt.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. Before I do, we do want this to be as much of a dialogue as webinars possibly can be. I know it's more of like a one-to-many kind of style. So please write in questions in the chat, use the Q&A feature. Like, we want to kind of tailor this experience to what you're hoping to hear from us. So if anything that we say triggers a question, please share it. Happy to stop and answer those questions. Here, we just wanted to take a minute to reflect back to you what our partners are telling us. And you all know better than anybody how quickly the landscape has been changing out there. And so it's over the last month, it was maybe 3-4 weeks ago on a Monday, all of a sudden our phones just started ringing off the hook, and it was partners and non-partners alike all realizing that virtual strategy was going to be really important. And that was even before campuses were officially closing. We'd only heard a couple of our partners had actually closed the campuses entirely. It's hard to believe it was just a month ago and how different the world feels today. But that said, here's just to reflect back to you some of what we're hearing and what is on everybody's mind. So first, there's just this unknown status of on-campus events. So mostly, virtual admitted student events have been canceled. Open houses obviously are canceled. These campuses aren't open. But now students are wondering, and our partner institutions are wondering as well, what's going to happen with the orientations? Are we going to be open by then? Are we going to be able to do those in person? What's the status of classes in the fall? With outbound travel canceled, how long is that going to be canceled? There's no college fairs. How are students, juniors and sophomores, going to be learning about schools and engaging with schools? And as schools are running more and more webinars and virtual tours, we're hearing from students, and institutions are hearing from students that they're all starting to kind of blend together, and they feel very similar. And so it's really important for schools to communicate what makes them special. And I think for some schools that can be hard to do and hard to translate in a webinar environment or a chat with the president. Students are also, this is what they're telling us, we have a pulse on what students are thinking and feeling. We've got hundreds of thousands of students chatting in the app. Every day we're hearing from them, what's on their mind, what they're thinking about. And I can say with confidence that the top thing for students right now is a massive anxiety about their future. Once they commit to a school, do they have to commit still by May 1st? Is June 1st going to give them enough time? Do mom and dad, are they still going to have jobs? Should we commit to going to school if we don't know if it's going to be online or in person in the fall? It's just a lot of anxiety. And so I think the impact for schools is that the students are feeling less connected to institutions, which raises that big flag for Melt. If a student isn't feeling bonded and connected to an institution, they're more at risk of deciding to go somewhere else, changing their plans, double depositing, all sorts of things that we don't want them to do. They're also hedging their bets. They're reluctant to make commitments. And we're actually seeing students say that in our app. They're saying that to each other in some of the channels, where they're double depositing or what their strategies are. How can they kind of keep all of their options open since the future feels so uncertain? And then for campuses, as I said, it's hard to start recruiting the next classes. How do we even get in touch with them if you can't see them in person? For schools, it's also harder to differentiate themselves and stand out when everybody's kind of doing the same thing. If everybody's doing a Zoom webinar, does it all start to feel kind of the same? And we love Zoom webinars. We're doing one right now. So we actually think it's a really good strategy and one that we work with. But there's a bigger virtual strategy that we would recommend. And then students are desperate to feel connected. They're desperate to feel connected to the campus. They're desperate to feel connected to their peers. They're feeling very, very isolated, and they want to be in the know. They want to know, like, what is going on with the campuses? What's the latest update? Is there any insight into what's going to be happening in the fall? What is the orientation going to look like? And so there's a gap for many institutions to get all of that information to the students, and to also be present in that conversation with the students, to help kind of reduce some of that anxiety for them and be that stable, secure source of information and confidence that they need. And then there's the bigger problem, which students are reflecting back to us, and that's that they're not meeting in person. So what makes those on-campus events so powerful? The admitted student days, the orientations, what makes them so powerful is that enthusiasm, the energy, the people-to-people connections, where students get a sense of not just what the buildings on campus look like or how green is the grass, but they get a sense of what the other people are like, the current students that they're going to be studying with. What's the vibe of the school? What's the vibe, like, what are the relationships between faculty, administration, and students? What are the relationships between students, between and among students? And who are these other people who may be going and committing to this school as well? Are these going to be the people I want to live with, study with, invite to my wedding, in 15 years? Like, who are these people? And I think that's a really important piece that's missing. We ran another poll, and this one was, I think, over 20,000 students responded. And it was, if you had access to one of these three options, which would be most important in helping you decide where to attend college? And so 30% said the virtual tour of the campus. They absolutely care what a campus looks like and what is it going to feel like to walk from my dorm to the dining hall. And then 15% said watching the college webinar. So again, it is really important to get information to students and make sure that they are learning about the campus. But 55% said connecting with other admits. And so those people-to-people connections are what students are craving right now. And what actually, in all of our data, and we sit on a ton of data, we'll share a little bit with you today, but we can share lots more later. All of our data suggests that this is what really makes a difference for yield and melt.
Yeah, so I'll jump in here. Thanks, Vanessa. So one of the things at ZeeMee that we really like to focus on is just strategy, and really thinking about how to strategically engage and influence prospective students. And prior to joining ZeeMee, I actually spent 10 years in higher ed enrollment management and also a former dean of admissions. So this was my life every day for years, thinking about how to leverage this technology to engage and influence students. And what we found at ZeeMee, and what I found through the years, is the ultimate strategy is how quickly in a student's journey through the enrollment funnel can I get them to connect with each other. We all for years have done a great job of leveraging our brand and projecting our institution's brand to students, whether it's through Instagram stories, or we've got a great Snapchat, or we're doing TikTok, or all the things. We've got a great website. We've got all of these tools and things that we use to kind of communicate out broadly to our prospective students. But what we found is the most powerful strategy is how early can you get these students to connect with one another. And you can almost think of this from that perspective of new student orientation. So if you think about, like, when I go back in my experience, I'm old now, and as you can tell with the quarantine haircut I'm rocking there. So, but if we go back in my experience, like, a new student orientation for me was really the day I stepped foot on campus at Indiana University. And the day before classes started was the first opportunity I had to connect with my peers and make some relationships. That evolved into amazing summer new student orientation programs now, where the student affairs office and working with admissions run these awesome events over the summer. And that became one of the first times I could connect with peers. If we go a decade ago, we had the introduction of a great new tool with Facebook groups. And 10 years ago, that was really a great way for students at the admitted stage to kind of connect. So maybe that was near the end of that senior year of high school, and students could kind of connect with each other. Well, when you fast forward to today, ZeeMee is a platform that allows you to go even earlier in that process. So we're talking, it could be freshmen, sophomores, juniors in high school, can all not only connect with you and engage with you and your institution, but they can connect and engage with each other. And so the screenshot here is really powerful. This one literally just took this screenshot probably last week. And what it shows is it shows the peer-to-peer influence. So it shows you that your admitted students can actually be recruiting other students for you. And that's kind of, in my eyes, that's kind of next level strategy, next level engagement. And so it's really powerful when you can connect your students together and allow them to help recruit each other.
And with this one, so just to point out like how to read this. So the student at the top, not completely decided on where to go, thinking Mississippi State, maybe University of Memphis. Memphis is not a partner of ours. That Mississippi State chat is so busy. Can't even describe how busy. These students are in there every day, every night, all day long, chatting with each other. And so you can see how these other admitted students are really kind of pulling Caleb along, saying, well, let's see how you feel after a night with these people. And then others are saying, you know, that Memphis chat is you know, dead. There's nothing going on there. And so like really how they're influencing each other, and Mississippi State had to do nothing. Like they literally just set this up and like stepped back, and you know they do some fun other things in the background, but this is all the students.
Yeah, great point, Vanessa. And so yeah, so just kind of to piggyback on what Vanessa thinks kind of already mentioned is that, you know, on ZeeMee we have the pulse of what students are always saying, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, what they're going through. And so yeah, so we've just shared a few quotes there that we've just cherry picked here recently. And again, you can see examples of, you know, I was leaning towards UCSD, but after this chat, I really don't know. So again, you're seeing a student being influenced by all the other students that she's interacting with. You know, the way GCC strives to really build a community is super cool. It was my last choice school before joining ZeeMee and experiencing everything. So again, it's not even having to visit the campus, but experiencing this community, experiencing this school's community on ZeeMee is what is influencing this student to feel like, well, wow, I mean, if GCC is anything like this chat, like I'm all in, like I love you people. So that's the real power of this. And of course, again, some examples of just showing how students are a little stressed and worried. Is Biola bound for March? Is it still happening with everything that's going on? And so it's critically important to one, not only know what those students are saying right now, but really being able to have them connect with each other as well as with you.
So let me just walk you through a little bit of how ZeeMee works. So we employ all the mechanisms of social apps that students are familiar with. It's just this is a focused space. So where Instagram and Snap are really noisy and students are getting inundated with messaging from brands, from schools, from friends, from like their parents, from pretty much everybody. This is a really focused space built for students and institutions to connect with each other. So we have chat, we have video feeds, we have a way for students to find friends, we have a way for students to find roommates. 89% of students these days expect to meet their friends before they get to campus. Completely different world, as Harrison was saying, like a completely different world than when I went to school and thought I would introduce myself to folks the very first day as I was moving in and, making my bed for the first time. So very different world. So students, schools can set up chats for the students. We have different experiences for students at the different stages in the funnel. So as students move through your funnel, they go from those prospects, inquiries to applicants, to admitted students, to enrolled students. We move them intelligently into these more exclusive experiences. And so those interested students can all find each other. Those admitted students can all find each other. Those committed students can find each other. And those students on campus can find each other. And then you can set up chats. We've got all kinds of best practices to facilitate that. Once we launch a community, this is gold. Like we launched Berkeley's community yesterday. 4,000 students came in. We've got over 30% of their admitted students in the app. They all joined practically at the same time, and it was like fire. Like the energy was amazing, and they were so grateful to find each other. One of those quotes that Harrison had was the student who was considering UCSD, and then in a day, in a couple hours of this chat, suddenly was like, yeah, I might be changing my mind. Then we've got the video feed. So this is how schools can get content in front of the students. So you leverage your current students to create content, and some folks from your office to create content that gives students a better sense of the vibe of the campus. So that doesn't have to be content that is actually filmed on campus right now in this sort of new virtual reality that we're all living in. The videos that students are creating from home are just as powerful as the ones in their dorm rooms. So it doesn't really matter where the video is being created. It's more about engaging with the students and giving them a sense of what it would be like to get to know these folks. And then we've got, as I said, a friend finder. Students can kind of filter and search and find other students who are interested in the same things, studying the same things, taking the same classes. And then they can also do this roommate match quiz, which they love, because who doesn't like taking a quiz, and then getting matched up with a bunch of other students that they may be well suited to live with. And it's actually just a really great icebreaker opportunity for students to meet other people who they may have some things in common with. Then we also have tools that are geared more towards the admissions side of things, your side of the desk. So these tools kind of give your team the ability to get information to students and pull information from students. So we've got polls, we've got events. Those can be really fun, can also be informational. You can find out who's attending a virtual event, but you could also just like find out who's watching Tiger King. And both are really fun for students, and students sort of expect to engage with your office in that way. We have bulk messaging, which is a really important feature that schools are using. You can write one message and have it go out to as many students as you want, but it comes as an individual message to them and generates a push notification on their phone. So they get a push notification, which pulls them into the app. It's a much better way of trying to get engaged with students than trying to hope that they open an email, bombard their inbox, with SMS. That can kind of annoy students, but push notifications are kind of a lightweight but effective way to get to students. Then we've got announcement channels, which are read-only channels. It's a way, again, for schools to update students and make sure they have all the information that they need. So that could be upcoming events. It could be changes to, campus programming. It could be updates on, COVID updates. Some of our campuses are doing that. So anything that you want to make sure that they're aware of, this is the best way to do it, because they also get a push notification for that. So they sort of expect to engage with institutions in the app in this way. And so what does that all mean? All of this translates to higher conversion throughout the funnel. So we see a lift. Students who are in ZeeMee convert through the funnel at a higher rate at every single gate. So they apply at higher rates, they deposit at higher rates, they melt at 2/3 the rate of the students who aren't in ZeeMee, and they yield at 3 times the rate of the students who aren't. And that all translates to dollars. So you're, an average net tuition revenue savings of $800,000. And that's when we looked at all of our partners for the last cycle. So this is across all of our partners. These are the averages. We're really, really proud of these numbers. All of this makes sense in retrospect, and we knew we were having a good year. But then when the census data actually came in and we were able to sit down with our partners and really look at how the year went, we were really proud to see the impact. I would say yield and melt are really our wheelhouse. Like that is where you see the value of all of this engagement, students connecting with students, bonding with each other, finding their new best friends early in the process. That's where it becomes, as Adam was saying, really hard to walk away. If I have a chat, I couldn't find this quote today, but I was looking for it. One of our students saying that, they found their 15 new best friends and they talk every day in ZeeMee. And it was just like, first of all, 15 new best friends. Good on you, like fantastic. But how do you walk away from that? How do you say, like, see y'all, like I'm no longer going to go to that school. I'm going to go to the school where I know no one. A lot harder to do. And then when we look at the campus visit, this slide has never really felt more relevant. When we compare students in ZeeMee to students who are able to visit campus, back when students were still visiting campus, we see that students in ZeeMee yield at or slightly better than the students who visit. So if you look at this bar here, these are the ZeeMee students who were not able to visit campus, but they did join ZeeMee. And then these are the students who did not join ZeeMee, but did visit your campus, And they're yielding at about the same rate. And ZeeMee is way less expensive, gives you the opportunity to basically create a campus visit every single day. And that's really the power of ZeeMee. This is another one of those metrics that just kind of makes sense in retrospect. Obviously, if students are logging in every day, getting to know your office, getting to know these new best friends, it's going to be very impactful, and it's going to make for a very sticky experience for those students.
And hey, Vanessa, we did have a question come through on the chat asking if partners use ZeeMee through the start of school, and like it seems like it'd be hard to wean students off of a ZeeMee community. So how do partners manage that?
Yeah, there's no need to wean them off. Take advantage of the fact that they're still in there. We have between 70 and 80% of entering freshman classes for our partners are in ZeeMee, but they kind of move, as I said before, we sort of move them into different experiences. So those students who decide to commit and actually land on campus, they move into chats with just each other, sort of their cohort, and they can find other students in their dorms, find other students in the same classes, and they're no longer active in like the admitted student experience because they've moved past that. So it sort of opens up, you know, each year, each new class coming in kind of fills that hole, and there's a natural kind of progression that students go through in ZeeMee. Take advantage of the fact that they're still in there. We're actually launching career fairs for career centers currently, and a bunch of additional kind of support services to take advantage of the fact that the students are already there. All right, so let me dive into virtual events. So virtual events in ZeeMee are super easy. We think of ourselves as kind of your like the quarterback of your virtual strategy. So we can help you leverage whatever tools you have in your toolkit. If you have a Zoom subscription or Slate webinars or some live streaming thing that you really love using, or a really awesome virtual tour that you want to make sure all of your students see, we can help make sure all those eyeballs get there. But we also, if you don't have any of those, that's fine as well. We can help you run incredibly low lift virtual events in ZeeMee. I mean, the kind that you run in your PJs sitting on your couch. So these are no stress events. They have massive attendance and engagement because this is where the students already are. So you've already invited all your students in. For many of our partners, those students have been in ZeeMee since they were sophomores. But for others that are launching right now, we're inviting just those admitted students in. And like I said, like we had a launch yesterday and 30% of the admitted students joined in less than 24 hours. So massive attendance. We also see massive engagement in these events because it's really easy for students in this virtual environment to ask questions, engage with your office. It's a little bit less terrifying than standing up and raising your hand in front of 100 to 1,000 new peers that you don't know in person. It's a lot easier to do it on your phone. This also, our partners see the sustained momentum. So unlike some events where you tell everybody to be logged in to a webinar on Wednesday at 5 p.m. or like this, we're all on a webinar, but we're all going to go about our way at the end of this, and probably most of you won't be connecting with each other right after. So in ZeeMee, the momentum continues and the conversation continues. So you run your live event, it's a scheduled event, and after, the students keep it going, and they're active before, during, and after. And then there's also no limit to how many events you can run in ZeeMee. So we've got partners running events nearly every day leading up to May 1st. We've got partners running events every week. We've got partners who just like randomly the day before decide they're going to go live, and we're there to help them. And we run an event kind of last minute notice. And again, we get massive attendance, which is fantastic. So I want to show you a little bit what one of these events looks like, how we promote them, kind of working backwards here, and show you an example of off-campus videos. I'm going to start with this one, just to give you a sense of how powerful the video from schools can be, even though we've got this kind of national shelter-in-place situation. Let's see if I can get this to play.
Hi, I'm Sarah. By now you've probably heard about the coronavirus, and I hope you're all staying safe. This is what I do in self-isolation. Step 1, realize I'm wearing a sweatshirt from an opposing school in a ZeeMee video. That's better. Step 2, get ready for the day. Look good, feel good, baby. This is usually the point where I work from home, but that's kind of boring for you, so here's some tips for self-isolation. You can paint. You can Encourage your plans. You can learn a new dance. Fresh air. Bond with your roommate. Ride your bike. The most important thing to do in self-isolation is to schedule a virtual visit to Augsburg. Students and counselors are available to chat online, so give us a call or send us an email.
I love that one. I don't know who wouldn't want to be friends with Sarah. She gives such a good just sense of what the people are like, and I think that's what students care about the most. So here's a Cal Baptist event promotion that's pretty great too. So how you can promote these virtual events, make sure you get mass attendance. Oh, again.
CBU Future Lancers. Sorry about that. I was catching up on the banner. I want to let you know that we have not forgot about you.
We have been super busy getting new student orientation ready for you guys.
What's up, Future Lancers? We've been preparing new student orientation for you guys. We cannot wait to see you guys there. Let me give you guys some more information.
Boom.
We have our first one this Monday, May 13th. So if you sign up for this one, we are so excited to see you.
And if you have not signed up, there's still plenty of time. calbaptist.edu/orientation. Sign up. What's up, my Lancers?
Okay. I want to give you a sense of one of the events. We picked this one because this is one of the most laid back events, that like an example of how easy this can be. So events in ZeeMee are a combination of video and chat. And you can invite anybody from the administrators, faculty, staff, students. You can run student panels, financial aid chats, department chats with department heads. You can invite the president in and make the president available to chat with students or to get some content in front of students. We can do activities and club fairs. We can do pretty much anything that you traditionally did on campus, we can convert into a ZeeMee environment. But this is just an info session that Jacksonville decided to run kind of last minute, be available to the students. They had a whole handful of their team. Again, I think they were wearing school colors on top, PJs on the bottom, sitting on their couches at home, answering students' questions through a combination of video and text. Oh, yeah. If I wait too long, it tells me I'm talking too much. If I wait too long, then they won't play on me. Here we go.
Hey guys, I'm Courtney. I'm one of the admissions counselors here at Jacksonville University. We are really excited to hop on here and chat with you today. I'm here, Kirsten and Aaron, two of our other admissions counselors are here. Two current JU students, Connor and Grace, are also on with us. So if you have any questions for any of us, please drop them below and we will respond to you via video or chat. We'll be here until about 3 o'clock and excited. Talk to you soon.
All right. So I'll show you a little bit more about what events can look like. So we will come up with the schedule. A lot of our partners are kind of throwing out the idea that an event has to be just a single day, all day long, and instead running events over the course of a week. We just had a really cool week with one of our partners where every single day had a theme. It was 2 hours each day, and the attendance, I mean, over the course of the week, one might worry that attendance would go down, and it actually went up. Their last day was just this massive blowout, awesome event. It was so busy. I couldn't stop sitting there like through the whole thing. I was kind of obsessed with it. So we publish out to all the students what the schedule of events is. Again, you can run anything, invite anybody in. There's no limit to how many events, how many people you can have involved. We will get everybody trained up, make sure they're all ready to go. Our partners are also breaking students, some of them are breaking students into smaller groups with student leaders to really make sure that it's a social experience and to make sure that the students are getting to know each other. So breaking students into smaller groups, and that student leader is kind of the guide, making sure students are aware of all the events, that they're doing icebreakers and running contests and getting to know each other, making it really social and fun. And then also running that program to get the information that you really want to get to the students, make sure that you have the right people in. So in this financial aid example, at a designated time, Dr. Harris and her team drop in. They share a video introducing themselves. They all kind of, give a little bit of their background. Then through text, they're available to the team, to the students, to answer questions. And they're answering those questions, as you saw in that last little video. They're answering questions. It's a combination of video and chat. And then you can see on the right that Grove City College event. That's how quickly, that's real time. This is not sped up. That's real time, how quickly students are communicating with each other. And then we can do activities fairs. You can invite in all the leaders from all the different clubs. They are sitting on tons of great content, videos, photos from all the events that they were running when they were on campus. So they can share that with students, and then they can be available to chat with those students and tell them a little bit more about their organization, and do the same recruiting that they would be doing on campus. And then we want to make sure that there's sort of a fun, social underpinning to the entire experience. And one way that we do that is help our partners to run contests throughout the event. And that's also a way that we can drive more attendance to certain things. So if you do have a webinar that you want students to see, and it's a financial aid webinar, and maybe you're a little worried that they're not going to sit through the whole thing, then we can make it fun and make, like, there's some keyword that's going to be spoken at, some minute in we know it's going to be at a certain minute. As soon as that word is spoken, students in the app have to say that they heard it, and they win a swag bag. If you have a really cool virtual tour, we can drive students to that and turn it into a scavenger hunt. And the students are loving these. These are getting way more attendance than we would have expected. And actually, a few weeks ago, one of these events the contest was so effective, it slowed down our app and pushed our engineering team, and our engineering team had to figure something out. So it doesn't happen anymore, but I kind of like to see stuff like that happen. So it's a really social, really great way to engage students, but also to drive the eyeballs where you want them to go. So what does it take to get this up and running? We can stand up a community we count it in hours, not in days. So what it takes is an onboarding with your core team. You get us a little bit of data, and we invite students into the community, and we can launch. Yesterday we got data and launched 2 communities in the afternoon. Got data in the morning, launched them in the afternoon. We signed a contract with Amherst on a Monday, onboarded on a Wednesday, I think, and launched the community on a Friday. So it was like 2 days between for each, just to kind of match with their availability and cadence. So it's really, as fast as your team can go, we can go. It's really just pushing some buttons, and then you let the students kind of take it from there. One of the key things about launching a community, which is that third card on the right, is that we invite all the students in at the same time, and there's this incredible energy and momentum as a result of that. So we invite students in, working with your team through SMS, and they all get this text message congratulating them for admits, for example, congratulating them on being admitted and celebrating their acceptance, and then driving them into the app. So they come in enthusiastic, excited, supportive of each other, and just like there's this huge celebration, and it's really, really fun. So what does it all cost? So we have 3 tiers. We keep it really simple. We actually have a 4th option, which is Pro, for $10,000 for 4 months, for folks who just have like an acute issue. They just want to run some orientation, some virtual student events, make sure their admitted students are connecting, and then worry about next year's budget next year. So the things that kind of differentiate them is how much data you get back from us, whether you're doing virtual events or not, and how much customization we're doing for your team. So the light plan is for folks who don't want to run events, who really just need a place for students to connect to each other. They don't need the data back on those students. They're not, they don't want to fold that into their yield and melt models or predictions. So they just kind of want to make sure that there's an environment for students to connect. The pros want the data back. They want to know, like, how engaged is each student? How many times have they logged in? How many videos have they watched? Chats have they sent? How many friends have they made? Because it's a high indicator of yield. If a student has made a ton of friends and they're connecting in the app a bunch, that student is not going anywhere. It's super sticky. For the pros, we also fold an account manager and a data scientist into your team. And then you have our team available to you, no limit on the number of events you can run, no limit on the amount of support you can get around those events. So we don't count our time in hours and say that you can only have X number of hours. We're here when you need us for as many events as you need. For the premieres, you get additional data back on the students. We help you synthesize it, understand it. Who are your students that are most likely to convert? Which students have committed elsewhere? There's just a lot more insight that you get into those students. There's also some other things about how many organizations you can stand up and for folks that have like multiple campuses and things like that. I think that I'm going to stop here and turn it over for a live demo to Megan so that you all can actually see the app, unless there's any other questions that we should address before that. Okay.
All right, I have my screen shared here. You should be able to see that. So we can see my whole iPhone screen, including the embarrassing number of unread notifications I have, but I'm going to ask you to focus your attention on the ZeeMee logo here. When I tap into it, I'm looking at the ZeeMee app like a student. So I've downloaded the mobile app for free, either on iOS or Android. Students can also join on the web, but the vast majority come in on their smartphone because it's familiar. So I've come into the ZeeMee app because I've been specifically invited by a partner school. And when I open the mobile app for the first time, I'm immediately seeing content from the university that invited me in my Discover feed here. I've actually followed a lot more schools than your average student, and this Discover feed is aggregating video from all the universities that I'm following. We can see all types of content here. Some of the content, like this post, is uploaded from another channel. Other content is recorded right in ZeeMee. When these students record content for ZeeMee, we've actually scaffolded that experience for them so they don't have to think about, every time they log in, what's a good thing to say on ZeeMee. We actually prompt them with some questions here, like asking, what's your favorite place to study on campus, and asking the current students to respond to that. It's trying to make it easier for your students to share your story. Of course, we've got some pet pictures since it's quarantine. So we get the idea with these videos here. Unless there's other questions, I'm going to move on to the group chats down on the bottom here. So we can see each university has their own separate group chats. I'm going to open up Jacksonville since we were talking about that earlier. And I can see right up at the top, as a student, I can direct message my counselor by clicking on their name there. And then there's separate group chats for 3 distinct categories of students: these interested students, admitted students, and enrolled students. And these are totally customizable, like Vanessa was describing. For Jacksonville, they really wanted to get the transfer students together, for example, so they made a specific group chat for them. For other schools, it's international students or particular major pathways. You can get really creative with these different groups. And I'm going to pop into this class of 2024 group so you can get a sense of what students are talking about. I think these chats are just from today. This has been going all day. So we see students coming in and introducing themselves, what they plan to major in, kind of seeing out who else is also, pre-vet or things like that, and really just finding the people that share their same interests and getting excited together about this, this university experience they're about to embark on. It's really fun. Yeah. You get the sense here. These students are really good at using the features in the app with these @mentions and the reactions within ZeeMee. Students can also, there's some fun features for them to create polls and events with each other, share their hometown weather, things like that. Great. And Jacksonville has also done a great job of using the announcements channels here. You saw that screenshot earlier in the slide deck, using the announcements channels to communicate information to students. So Courtney letting everyone know that, this is where the JU live sessions are going to be held, linking out to those things. And of course, since so many of our partners, admitted students, are in the ZeeMee app, this is really highly, highly visible for students. It's not going to get lost in their email inbox. Students are logging into the ZeeMee app, every day. So they're definitely going to see any updates posted here. Great. And now just going right down the bottom here, showing you the friend finder. Again, we saw this in a screenshot, but I think it's fun to see it working. So when I come into this friend finder, I can update my filters down at the bottom and find other students that have applied, been admitted to, or have actually said they're going to the universities that I'm following. And then I can filter it down by students that are majoring in the same thing that I am, or that share the same interests as me. So let's roll with the example. Let's switch it up. I'm going to go students that have also been admitted to Amherst College and also have an interest in photography. So let's see. Looks like there's 92 students admitted to Amherst that also are interested in photography. So from here, as a student, I could click on any of these students and see their profile, send them a direct message, see what they're all about. Or I could go ahead and start a group chat with all 92 of us. All of us are interested in photography and going to Amherst. So maybe I want to set up a photography, session, some photo shoot, or some type of club. You can imagine students having a really good time with that, just finding other people that share their same interests. This is also home of our very popular roommate matching quiz, where students are answering some kind of lifestyle questions and get matched with students that they may start the fire engine outside. The other thing I wanted to be sure to show you right at the top here is how students are telling ZeeMee that they plan to go to a certain university. So we can see in ZeeMee University here, right now it says that I'm not going to ZeeMee University, but if I change my status to yes, I am going, it's a nice celebration moment for students, and they could use the filter here to take a selfie with their branded university logo. And of course, the minute a student takes that action, the partners get an email in their inbox letting them know that a student has declared their intent to enroll. And then this is also part of the comprehensive report that our partners receive with all the individual student level touch points, the data analytics of their engagement in ZeeMee. So we know how many students or which students are watching your videos and group chatting, how many friends they've matched with, like I matched with those students interested in photography, who's said that they're going or maybe not going. And that's all passed back into your CRM so that you can make smart decisions based on students' behavior in ZeeMee.
And Megan, I'll just add one thing here, which was surprising to us. We run surveys all the time in our app, as you can probably gather from this presentation. But we ran one recently, and 50% of the students said that they already know where they're going. Wow. Which at this point in time is really interesting and very valuable information for our partners. So as students are telling us where they're going in the app, we want to make sure to deliver that information back. But it's interesting to hear that they've already 50% already have a sense of where they're headed.
Yeah, certainly. Great. I didn't show what one university's profile looks like. So let me just tap into Amherst real quick, so that we can see this org page. So I'm following Amherst. That's where I'm getting their content. This is where I join the chats. I could actually share this page with my friends if I wanted to. I could text them a link. The little call to action for students to join the accepted student community. And then here's where these are all the students that are following Amherst. And they just launched their community, Vanessa, I believe 2 weeks ago now, maybe. Yep. So a huge number of students came in off of their admitted student list to participate in ZeeMee Community. And then these official accounts are the folks in their office that wanted to be involved in ZeeMee, and the current students that they've designated, hand-selected as the ones that will be the content creators, posting the content like we see here in their video feed. And then of course, as new videos get posted, students get a push notification that kind of brings them back into the app all the time.
Yeah, and their feed is awesome. Like their current students have done a great job of just pulling content that's already on their phones from all the fun stuff that they were doing all year long. So theirs is well, we showed one of just like what does life at home look like. Theirs is actually a really great example of how much content students are already sitting on that they leverage to still show what the campus is like.
Yeah, and how easy and quick it is for students to get that content loaded. I mean, I could scroll for a few minutes down their college feed and still have videos to look at.
It's true. Yeah. Great.
Well, I'm going to stop sharing here.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. I think this is probably a great place to stop and give you 9 minutes back. So let's stop here. Please fill out that form if you'd like. If you've got additional questions, want us to follow up with you, want to just schedule like a 10-minute check-in to see if this might be a good fit for your particular needs. Thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. We know that time is absolutely precious these days, especially with everybody at home managing families and all sorts of things while trying to keep it all together professionally. So thank you. We really appreciate it. It was great connecting with you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.